Chapter 21. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The two of them were very close. Son, she. Seeing Shi Yufei, who looked ugly among the many disciples, Ling Qianxue asked, "What is her relationship with you?" That the woman with outstanding appearance seemed to be very hostile to her. Hearing this, Su Zhe did not stop, but said indifferently, "Do you think she is qualified to have a relationship with me?" "No." Ling Qianxue gave an answer immediately, and her originally uneasy heart settled down. Since there is no relationship, she does not need to worry too much, looking at Su Zhe who was walking away. "Su Zhe, are you really unwilling to talk to me?" Shi Yufei was a little panicked, and spoke again to keep the person. But from the beginning to the end, Su Zhe never looked at Shi Yufei, and returned to Xingzi Peak with indifference. In the boiling atmosphere around. "No, it's impossible." Shi Yufei's ears echoed Su Zhe's answer to Ling Qianxue before. Her face was pale, and she murmured in disbelief, "Su Zhe. He is obviously only good to me. But now, he accepted a woman who has nothing to do with him, and gave her so many good things, which were originally meant for me." At this moment, she seemed to have lost all her strength and staggered. Su Zhe now made her feel like she was facing an unapproachable 1,000-year-old iceberg. Xingzi Peak. You will live here in the future. If you don't understand, you can ask them. After Su Zhe returned with Ling Qianxue, he simply explained. In response, Ling Qianxue looked at Su Zhe with gratitude in her beautiful eyes. "Thank you, Your Highness. I really can't thank you for such a great favor. From now on, my life belongs to Your Highness." That she was excited, and at the same time, she was relaxed for the first time since she entered the escape. Now she has a foothold, and she has also obtained a great fortune. For Su Zhe, she no longer calls him the Holy Son, but calls him Your Highness like a maid. Loyalty, 90. After hearing this, Su Zhe took a look at Ling Qianxue's loyalty and nodded slightly. "Next, in addition to practicing hard, I will assign you tasks." He spoke lightly. With the twinkling of stars, Ling Qianxue's expression immediately became serious, and she said solemnly, "Please give your orders, Your Highness." "First, when your injuries are completely recovered and your cultivation is consolidated, leave the Supreme Tao sect and find the people above for me." Su Zhe said slowly, waving his hand, and a jade slip appeared. Ling Qianxue was stunned at first, and then opened the jade slip. East Region, Yunlang City, Yifeng. East Region, Xingtian City, Chu Chen. She looked at the more than a dozen names on it, and their locations were clearly marked, and she couldn't help feeling confused. Without waiting for her to ask, Su Zhe smiled and continued, "Second, find these people. I want you to establish an organization." Organization? I have thought of the name. It is called the Villain Alliance. Qianxue understands. Hearing this arrangement and name, Ling Qianxue felt incredible, but she quickly responded, "Villain Alliance. What is Your Highness going to do?" "The third and last thing." Su Zhe spoke again, staring at Ling Qianxue, his brows full of domineering, and said, "Since you are already mine, then your affairs are related to me. Put aside the matter of revenge for now, do what I tell you to do. The object of your revenge is no different from an ant to me, and I can turn it over with a snap of a finger." When everything was explained, Ling Qianxue's body trembled suddenly, and her eyes turned red. Qianxue remembers. She bit her lips tightly and bowed respectfully. "Your Highness is going to avenge herself." For a moment, she felt dazed, as if she was in a dream, and became more determined to follow. When the maid took Ling Qianxue to the side hall. Villain Alliance. Su Zhe's eyes were full of stars and kept flashing, and a deep smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. The people Ling Qianxue had asked to find were all villains with extraordinary achievements in the original book. Since he wanted to be a villain, he had to plan early, so he decided to form a villain alliance to use for himself. Put aside his thoughts for the moment. The host successfully made sure Yufei feel regret for the first time, and obtained plus 2,000 villain value. Su Zhe was about to receive the critical hit return reward for his previous investment, when a system prompt came to his mind. "This works." He grinned, and was quite satisfied. there are currently 3,000 villains. Suze did not pay much attention, and the mind communication system said, receive all critical hit return rewards. After his signal, all the rewards obtained before were materialized. In front of Suze, a brilliant light ball appeared from the tear of the void. Ancient demon dragon spirit, that he felt the terrible energy fluctuations from the light ball, and could vaguely see and hear the dragon roar echoing in his ears. Something comparable to the supreme spirit. Faced with this reward, even he was a little excited. The next second, in the torn void in front of him, a palm-sized Ganoderma lucidum emitting a strange blood light appeared again. As soon as it appeared, an amazing breath filled the entire palace. 7th level spiritual medicine Taichu blood spirit pill. Then there was a strange pill that made the surrounding space roar, distorted, and crystal clear as soon as it appeared. 9th grade elixir, Xinyuan Dabu Dan. When taken in the supreme realm, it can improve a small realm by 100% regardless of any realm. It is the dream elixir of the transformation realm cultivator. Suze just smelled the fragrance of the elixir, and his eyes brightened a lot, and the spiritual power in his body became boiling. This is a real treasure. He stared at the Xinyuan Dabu Dan and couldn't help praising it. If it was placed in the secret realm, I'm afraid that the entire East region's transformation realm cultivators would fight for it, and it's not an exaggeration to say that blood would flow like a river. If I use it now, it would undoubtedly be a waste of heaven's gift. Suze directly put the Xinyuan Dabu Dan into the jade bottle and put it into the storage ring. Heavenly Dao Desolate Sword. After he received almost all of the rewards this time, a ray of light bloomed in his eyes. In an instant, the whole Xingzi Peak trembled for a moment. The crack in the void in front of Suze emitted loud noises and shone with brilliant divine light. The power of the artifact, that in just a blink of an eye, he could feel the terrible aura fluctuations in the crack, accompanied by the sound of swords, just when he was satisfied, swish. A sound of breaking through the air resounded throughout the palace, and the monstrous sword energy rushed towards him. Suze was shocked, and a long sword with a body as white as snow, a cold light surging on the sword edge, and several obscure runes imprinted on the hilt floated in front of him. Good sword, but he looked at this heavenly Dao desolate sword containing the power of heaven, and couldn't help but admire it. On it, he could feel a desolate aura. The sword in front of him can allow the holder to maximize the use of the power of heaven. This alone is amazing enough, not to mention that it can also suppress the thunder tribulation to a certain extent. Looking at these critical hit rewards. It's so cool. Suze sighed again, looking at these items with satisfaction. Chapter 22. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The ancient dragon spirit was in his hand, and the ancient dragon spirit flashed brightly. Take the ancient dragon spirit in your hand. Hiss. Suze's consciousness bloomed, and the ancient dragon spirit flashing with bright light sank into his brow, causing his body to tremble. In an instant, a dazzling ball of light appeared in the consciousness world. The majestic consciousness avoided it, as if they were afraid of the terrifying energy contained in the ancient dragon spirit. And after a while the consciousness power in the consciousness world slowly approached the ancient dragon spirit and began to refine it. Since it was a system reward, there was no rejection. The change process was extremely smooth, and Suze could feel that the power of consciousness was skyrocketing at a human speed. Gulyalu, he took a deep breath and swallowed the whole plant of primordial blood Ganoderma directly. After tasting it, he frowned slightly. Why is there no taste? But soon, Suze's expression became wonderful, revealing a look of pain. Damn, he cursed inwardly, and his whole body was shaking violently. In his body, an astonishing blood and chi power rushed up to the sky. The fluctuations made the whole palace shake violently. Suze felt as if his body was being cut by countless knives inside and outside, and he grimaced in pain. Is the power of the medicine so strong? He gasped for breath, and the blood and chi power on his body became more and more terrifying. Tear. His white robe turned into powder, revealing his naked upper body. If the high-level spiritual medicine is not diluted, the power of the medicine is so strong that ordinary people can't bear it. But Suze was not an ordinary person. He endured great pain and absorbed the primordial blood Ganoderma frantically. Bang, bang, bang. Loud noises came from his body, and his muscles and veins were constantly improving. And his body was becoming more and more muscular, with more obvious muscle lines and a bit more wild. When his spiritual consciousness and blood power were madly improving. Buzz, Suze grabbed the heavenly Tao desolate sword in front of him, and suddenly a buzzing sound came out, causing the surrounding space to show signs of distortion. And above the sky, an even more amazing breath suddenly descended. Boom! A terrifying spiritual storm swept across the entire Taishan Dao sect. Countless disciples' seas of consciousness exploded, and their souls trembled. All eyes looked at the Xingzi peak where Suze was, with horror in their eyes. In addition to this terrifying storm of spiritual consciousness, at this time, the sky above the Holy Sun peak was covered with blood clouds, and strange phenomena bloomed. The overwhelming blood power seemed to tear the sky apart, spreading out from the Holy Sun Palace on the mountain in all directions. And the next second. Crack, thunderclouds emerged and collided with blood clouds. A creepy and terrifying aura suddenly descended. The power of the heavenly Tao poured down, and the terrifying pressure covered the supreme Tao sect. 1,000 miles in radius, all were covered by the strange phenomenon caused by Suze. On the Elder Peak, all the elders were startled, and even the Great Elder was looking at the Holy Sun Peak from afar. What an amazing spiritual storm, the Holy Sun. Is the Holy Sun cultivating spiritual power? This blood and chi power is still surging. What is the Holy Sun doing? The breath of heaven, the Holy Sun can actually lead the heavenly Tao. They were shocked and incredulous. It was not long after that, Suze, the Holy Sun, caused such an amazing and terrifying vision again. Amid the numbing scalps of the elders. The Holy Sun is going to break through, the elder stared at the Holy Sun peak with deep eyes and said. In an instant. A deafening roar made the space tremble, and the entire sect was boiling. The aura of Suze's cultivation was surging at a terrifying speed. Boom! 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 Under the continuous terrifying roars, the heaven and earth resounded. The whole sky shook violently, as if it would collapse in the next second. Seeing this. Hiss! The elders and others all took a breath of cold air, their expressions were moved. Recently, the Holy Sun seems to have really changed, and his cultivation has brought too much shock to people. The incomparable and amazing vision is still continuing, on the Holy Sun peak. The third level of the saint, with Suze's body trembling, his cultivation level broke through directly. But this is not over yet. The fourth level of the saint. The fifth level of the saint. Until the sixth level of the saint. Breaking through 4 small realms in one fell swoop, Suze's cultivation level soared, the speed of the sword stopped, and now his whole body exuded a terrible aura fluctuation. Ha! His eyes became deeper and deeper, and he let out a long breath. At this moment, his spiritual consciousness, physical body, and cultivation have all been greatly improved. Now, when he uses his spiritual consciousness, he can cover tens of thousands of miles. Just clench his fist slightly, and the space will collapse. His temperament is more outstanding than before, like a king descending. Feeling the improvement in many aspects, Suze holds the heavenly Tao desolate sword in his hand, and can clearly sense the existence of the heavenly Tao. If this goes on, it won't be long before I dominate the world. His eyes were burning, and his face was full of smiles. This huge improvement brought him an unprecedented sense of pleasure. In the near future, he will definitely stand at the top. Time flies. Half a month later, Ling Qianxue left the Supreme Tao sect 10 days ago and embarked on the road to complete the task assigned by Suze. During this period, since Suze broke through, he has been enjoying a leisurely and beautiful life for almost half a month. However, it ended today. In the Holy Sun Palace, Suze washed up with the help of the maid. It's almost time. He spoke slowly, with a hint of expectation in his eyes. Early this morning, that I was informed of the latest news. The annual Eastern Region Hunting Day, of the entire Eastern Region is about to begin. On the hunting day, not only the Eastern Region, but also the major forces in other places will lead their outstanding disciples to the designated location to hunt the monsters there. These monsters are all from the battlefield outside the domain, infiltrated into the Hunyuan realm through the battlefield. The monsters that are too powerful have been jointly killed by the 9 emperor clans. The rest, the places where the monsters live with a large number of monsters, are all trapped in the barrier by the powerful, and left for the disciples of various forces to train, familiarize themselves with the alien races to face, accumulate experience, and facilitate going out of the battlefield outside the domain in the future. Therefore, the Hunyuan continent jointly formulated a big hunt once a year. Hunting Day. Comes from this. The reason why Su Zhe went there was that he was the young master of the Imperial clan, and the top strong men in the Imperial clan were guarding the extraterritorial battlefield outside the Hunyuan realm. Others might be able to choose, but he had to go because of his extraordinary identity, and his predecessor, had a certain understanding of extraterritorial monsters since childhood, and even killed many of them. Su Zhe had read the original book and naturally had a strong interest in this. Maybe there will be a lot of gains this time, he muttered in his heart. Memories surged in his mind, and a smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. After putting away his thoughts, he did not stop and went straight to the gathering place. Chapter 23. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old man was sitting on the ground, and the old man was sitting on the ground, in the square. Many disciples who were going out hunting had already gathered. The arrival of the hunting day made the entire Taishang Dao sect quite lively. Shi Yufei was constantly looking around the square, as if looking for something. Why didn't Su Zhe come? She gritted her teeth. Her heart was very uneasy. During this period, she suddenly felt very uncomfortable. Especially after seeing Su Zhe give Ling Qianxue so many good things. Shi Yufei realized that after Su Zhe was gone, not only the Shi family, but even herself could not adapt. It's been so long. Su Zhe still doesn't plan to come to me. He never did this before. She felt a wave of grievances in her heart, biting her lips tightly, always feeling that she had lost something, when she made up her mind to ask Su Zhe clearly. Senior Sister Yufei. A voice came from behind her. Shi Yufei turned around and saw Lin Yi, who had arrived at some point, and her expression turned cold and she said, "Are you okay?" Senior Sister Yufei, it will be dangerous to go hunting this time, so I want to invite you to join me so that we can take care of each other. Lin Yi showed a sunny smile on his resolute face and made an invitation. Since Shi Yufei would be his benefactor, even if he did not gain her favor, he could still help her in her cultivation. With the help of the old man, he is now a 5th-level god king. It won't be long before he can step into the realm of saints. For Lin Yi's invitation. Not interested. Shi Yufei was still upset. Her expression became even colder, and she immediately refused. As soon as this was said, the nearby disciples looked at Lin Yi with a mocking look on their faces. This Lin Yi really makes me laugh to death. He keeps approaching a woman that the Holy Sun doesn't want, and he's rejected. Ha ha ha. Shi Yufei is courting death. The Holy Sun doesn't want to pay attention to her now, but she ends up pestering the Holy Sun. She's really cheap. Lin Yi, is it that the woman that the Holy Sun doesn't want is more attractive? Why don't you look in the mirror and see what your identity is? Shi Yufei was protected by the Holy Sun before. How can your identity, background, and resources compare to the Holy Sun? How can he possibly look at you? You have no self-awareness at all. A clown. They talked about it without hesitation, with a sarcastic smile on their lips, facing the words of these disciples. Ka. Lin Yi clenched his fists tightly, feeling unhappy and gnashing his teeth. But facing this situation, he couldn't refute it. Being rejected by Shi Yufei, he could only leave with a gloomy face, and anger rose in his heart. Su Zhe, it's Su Zhe again. No matter what, I must defeat Su Zhe after this. At this time, after hearing the comments of the disciples around her, Shi Yufei's body trembled slightly. Su Zhe, as long as you can take the initiative to find me, I can forgive you regardless of the past, that she looked around again and said in her heart. Lin Yi stood up for her again and again, but he still couldn't be compared with Su Zhe. What the latter gave him, Lin Yi couldn't give at all. Moreover, Su Zhe's identity, background or resources at his disposal were not comparable to the other party. Suddenly, the Son of God is here. The whole square became restless. More and more disciples noticed and looked in the same direction. Under the attention of the crowd, Su Zhe came from the air and landed on the square, and his appearance instantly made the whole square boil. The disciples looked at Su Zhe with fiery eyes and high momentum. Su Zhe saw Shi Yufei staring at him, with a sneer on her lips, but ignored her. The hunting day with all the East Territories geniuses gathered together must be very interesting. He glanced at the scene, with expectation in his eyes. It was at this time. Swish, several more figures arrived. This was a middle-aged man with a big sword on his back, with a serious expression on his upright face. He exuded a strong aura. This man, was one of the elders of the Supreme Tao sect. The elder of the Sword Pavilion, Ouyang Chen. Also came the elder of Danfeng, Qin Wanjun, and several other elders. After they appeared, the originally noisy scene suddenly became quiet. In the eyes of the crowd, Ouyang Chen looked solemn, and then waved his hand. Each person has a bracelet, which can record the points you get during the hunting process, and it is also your means of saving your life. If you want to quit or encounter danger, just crush it and you can quit. Point one after another, bracelets made of special materials flew out of the storage bag. He continued, many of you are participating in this hunt for the first time. Before that, I want to tell you that the destination of this trip is extremely dangerous. You will encounter monsters from outside the domain, including powerful monsters, and you may even face the geniuses of other forces, so be careful. Once the hunt begins, as long as you are still in the hunting ground, you are always in danger. If you die in it, there is no way. The sect will not avenge you, so everything depends on you. Of course, in addition to the danger, the first place on this hunting day will receive a richer reward than before. As soon as these words came out, many disciples at the scene felt the cruelty and danger of the place of suffering, and the atmosphere became a little tense, but there was longing in their eyes. The first place will receive a richer reward than in previous years, which makes people curious. After everyone received the bracelet. Boom! A huge roar was heard. Then, above the void, a cloud boat that covered the sky and the sun, extremely luxurious, slowly appeared. Ouyang Chen looked solemn and shouted, everyone, get on the cloud boat. Swish! Swish! The disciples who were going to participate in the hunt flew up without hesitation. Su Zhe's eyes flashed, and he flew into the air. After everyone boarded the cloud boat. Let's go! Ouyang Chen and other elders were in front of the cloud boat and waved their hands. Boom! The cloud boat, which covered the sky and the sun, shook suddenly and slowly sailed out of the mountain gate. Under the gaze of countless Taishan Dao sect disciples, it set off gusts of wind and disappeared from sight at an astonishing speed. At the same time, on this day, the entire eastern region became boiling. Hunting Day. Once a year, the top forces in the entire eastern region will lead their disciples to go. It can be said to be a genius gathering. Countless forces are ready. Hunting Day is not only for many young people to go and gain experience, but also a contest between disciples of many forces. Everyone wants to win the first place. In the past, many geniuses emerged in the hunting grounds. In addition to the Supreme Tao sect in the central province of the East region, the top forces in the four major states of the East, West, South, and North have also set off with their men. One after another, huge monsters, warships, and flying swords that cover the sky flew out from different places and headed for the hunting location, the Abyss Demon Land. Chapter 24. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The Abyss Demon Land, a deserted plain outside Zhongzhou in the East region. Almost all the monsters that invaded the Hunyuan realm gathered here. Due to the influence of the monsters, the spiritual energy of the entire plane has long been exhausted, as if falling into the abyss. The name of the demon land also came from this. In addition to the East region, there are such places in the other 3 regions and even Zhongzhou. At this time, outside the abyss demon land, the demonic energy lingered, the wind blew, and the blowing sounded like the creepy sound of ghosts crying and wolves howling. The entire demon land has no spiritual energy and no living things. It's like the real Four Lands. Now that all forces have gathered, this forbidden place that no one usually approaches has become lively. Countless Tianzhao's eyes were burning with expectation and urgency on their faces. In addition to the holy places of the sects that had arrived first, there were also giant beasts and huge warships arriving one after another. At the same time, bang bang bang. Accompanied by the roar of heaven and earth, the cloud boat of the Supreme Tao sect covered the sky and appeared in the sky. As the cloud boat descended on the demonic land, Sword Pavilion Elder Ouyang Chen led the disciples of the Tao sect down. Seeing the arrival of the Supreme Tao sect, one after another, there was a heated discussion on the scene, especially after seeing Su Zhe in the crowd. Su Zhe also felt many eyes falling on him, but ignored it and looked at the dark and demonic land in front of him. Demon land. His eyes flickered, and his interest was greater. There was not much description of the demonic land in the original book, but according to the normal plot, the first place on this hunting day was not a disciple of the Supreme Tao sect. However, the Son of Destiny, Lin Yi, turned out in this hunting, amazing all forces. Suddenly. Why doesn't Su Zhe, the holy son of the Supreme Tao sect, pester women and actually want to participate in the hunting day? A voice full of sarcasm came. I saw a young man from the Xuanfeng holy sect come out with a smile and a look of contempt. The elder next to him heard this and frowned slightly and said, Jiang Yi, go back. The young man curled his lips and was about to go back, but a roar came from the sky. Then, an overwhelming pressure suddenly descended on the young man. His face changed drastically, and he felt a chill coming from behind. Turning his head, he saw Su Zhe, who looked calm but had a chill in his eyes. Looking at him, in an instant, his hair stood on end. At this time, Su Zhe had a sneer on his lips, and the heavenly Tao desolate sword had already appeared in his hand. Shua, accompanied by a buzzing sound, he raised his hand and swung a sword. The void trembled. The whole world was filled with oppression. This sword set off a sword that was devastating and carried a destructive aura straight towards the young man who mocked him. Such a mighty momentum, moved all forces. The young man's soul trembled and his body shook violently. Elder! Elder, save me! He screamed in shock, and now he could no longer move. Where the sword aura passed, amazing cracks appeared on the ground and continued to spread, and the pervasive fluctuations made everyone pale in comparison. Seeing this, the elder leading the team of Xuanfeng holy sect snorted coldly and was about to attack. This, the power of the heavenly Tao. But as soon as he raised his hand, he sensed the aura of the heavenly Tao descending, covering his whole body, and his cultivation was suppressed. At the same time, he also saw the heavenly Tao desolate sword in Su Zhe's hand, which was flashing with divine light. That was actually a divine weapon. It was also because of his stunned state that. No. The young man who had mocked before was pierced by the sword energy and let out a shrill scream. Facing Su Zhe's sword, his life was instantly plundered. And his soul was instantly destroyed under the violent sword energy. Bang! A loud noise was heard, and the young man of the 8th level of the God King didn't even have any power to resist, and his body and soul were destroyed. And this scene, immediately made the surroundings dead silent. One after another looked at Su Zhe, with solemnity and fear. The holy son of the Supreme Tao sect actually has such a terrible artifact. The sword just now could actually mobilize the power of the heavenly Tao, so that the elders of the other sect were suppressed. From the beginning to the end, it was almost just a blink of an eye. How dare you, a lowly creature like an ant, make such a noise in front of this saint? Facing the gazes from all directions, Su Zhe looked cold and said in a cold voice after scanning the area, if you want to die, you can give it a try. As soon as the words fell, the people at the scene, the temperature dropped a few degrees. Hearing this, the elders and disciples of Xuanfeng holy sect looked ugly, but they could not refute it at all. A Tianjiao just mocked Su Zhe, but ended up dying. All the people from other forces shut their mouths. Especially those who laughed out loud before, now their faces turned pale and they felt a little scared. Fortunately, they didn't say anything to Su Zhe. The domineering degree of the holy son of the Supreme Tao sect made most people shiver after they came to their senses. At this time, several elders of the Supreme Tao sect looked at Su Zhe with admiration in their eyes. In the crowd, Su Zhe, he. Shi Yufei stared at Su Zhe not far away, with a look of surprise in her beautiful eyes. It must be said that, the handsomeness of the sword just now made her heart beat faster. This man. Looking back now, it seems that he is not as ineffective as he thought. Thinking of the situation of the Shi family under the influence of the imperial order, and thinking of the imbalance during this period of time, Shi Yufei pursed her lips, hesitated again, and stepped out. Su Zhe, you can go into the devil's land with others. I can forgive you. Those things in the past will be treated as if they never happened. You can hunt with me. She came to Su Zhe's side and said with a very unnatural smile, she was not too sure about entering the devil's land to hunt, but if Su Zhe followed, then she would definitely not be in danger, and the process would be very easy. Seeing Shi Yufei taking the initiative, the disciples of the Supreme Tao sect were all puzzled, but, Su Zhe looked at Shi Yufei who felt good about herself, narrowed his eyes, and jokingly said, a mere low-level disciple, are you worthy? Who gave you the confidence? Shi Yufei looked stunned. She thought Su Zhe would definitely agree happily, but she didn't expect such an answer. Su Zhe, you. She was full of disbelief and asked, are you really going to do this to me? Get lost. Su Zhe frowned, his eyes flashed with cold light. Thump, thump, thump. Shi Yufei saw the cold light in Su Zhe's eyes, felt an invisible force coming towards her, and retreated again and again. How could this be? She widened her eyes, unable to believe that Su Zhe would be so ruthless. This shouldn't be the case, this shouldn't be the case. Just when she racked her brains and couldn't figure out the reason. Shi Yufei, why are you so cheap? You didn't want to have anything to do with the Holy Sun before, but now you can't bear it anymore. This woman is really interesting. If she hadn't relied on the Holy Sun's favor before, with her identity, she would never have been able to contact the Holy Sun in this life. Clown. Many Tai Shang Dao sect disciples saw this scene, all of them sneered and sarcastically said. Chapter 25. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The big news is that the big news is coming. All the major forces were surprised to hear what Su Zhe said and the ridicule of the disciples of the Supreme Tao sect. Didn't I hear that Su Zhe, the young master of the Su family and the holy son of the Supreme Tao sect, was bewitched by that woman and obeyed her every word? But the Su Zhe I see now seems to be different from the rumors. Su Zhe has changed too much. He is completely different from the Su Zhe I know now. What happened? With Su Zhe's identity, the woman named Shi Yufei would actually refuse. There were waves of discussions around, and the geniuses of various forces were puzzled, and looked at Su Zhe with a solemn look in their eyes. At the same time, as one of the most special forces in the eastern region, in the Paradise Demon Palace, the elders and disciples are all women, among them, the beautiful woman with purple eyes, revealing endless charm, and a red dress showing her proud figure looked at Su Zhe and walked out with a smile. I wonder if I can invite Su Xingzi to go with me. Her twisting posture attracted many eyes to look at her, and her seductive voice made people who heard it numb. Hearing this, Su Zhe looked at her, narrowed his eyes slightly, and was curious. This woman has an outstanding appearance, seductive eyes, and every move seems to be able to arouse everyone's primitive desire. Ouyang Chen frowned and said slowly, Dai Ji, born with a charming bone, the current witch of the Paradise Demon Palace, the most outstanding witch in history, has a succubus body, is good at seductive magic to seduce people, and now has entered the realm of saints. Oh, Suze heard this, a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes, the witch of the Paradise Demon Palace. One of the few supporting characters in the original book that the author spent a lot of time and effort to describe. Not a decent character, but not a villain either. Looking at Dai Ji, who had already walked up to him, her pair of purple eyes revealed a charming charm that made people fall in love with her. Suze looked calm and nodded slightly in response. It's a pity that I can't invest. He muttered in his heart, indifferent to the witch's seductive eyes. The reason why he agreed to go with the other party was that he had a plan. As one of the supporting characters in the original book, his future achievements will not be low. If he can use him for himself, why not do it? Seeing that Suze was still calm, Dai Ji was surprised. The holy son of the supreme Dao sect in front of him did not have any emotional fluctuations when facing her. Facing Suze, who did not refuse the witch's invitation. Is he deliberately irritating me? Sure, Yufei looked ugly and gnashed her teeth. I underestimated Suze's temper. When she thought of this, resentment appeared in her eyes. At this time, wait for the entrance to open, and you can enter by yourself. That the strong men from various forces soared into the air, formed seals in their hands, and worked together to bloom their cultivation towards the void in front of them. Under the violent roar, a beam of light shot straight into the sky. The wind was howling, and the wind was rolling. Under the expectant eyes. Crack, the void was torn apart, revealing a huge crack. The bright light bloomed from the crack, making it impossible to see what was inside. At the same time, an astonishing demonic aura permeated with it. The entrance has been opened. Seeing this. Shwa. 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 The disciples from many forces who came to participate in the hunt did not hesitate, and went straight to the exit and immersed in it. Suze did not hesitate too much, and a glimmer of spirit appeared in his eyes. Seeing Dai Ji hesitating, he grabbed her wrist and turned into a stream of light and disappeared at the entrance. The abyss demonic land, opened up by the invading monsters, is a small world full of chaos. At this time, figures came one after another, a ray of light flashed. Suze brought Dai Ji to the demonic land. It's a good place. He looked at the chaotic scene and the space full of demonic energy and whispered softly, such an environment makes him more interested. At this time. You hurt me. A coquettish voice sounded in his ears. Dai Ji broke free from Suze's hand, with a face full of resentment. The man in front of him really doesn't know how to be gentle with women. Suze ignored it and looked at the bracelet on his wrist that lit up as he entered the demonic land. You can get points by hunting monsters. The higher the level of the monster, the more points you get after hunting. He looked at the number on the bracelet which showed 0, and his eyes flashed, seeing that Suze ignored him. What are your plans? Dai Ji asked. She looked around. This was her first time to participate in hunting. Before coming here, she had heard that the demon land was full of dangers, and countless geniuses had fallen here in the past, so when she saw Suze kill the young man of the 8th level of the Xuanfeng holy sect with one sword in the presence of the other party's elders, she had the idea of inviting him to join. Now subconsciously, she wanted to ask Suze for his opinion. Around. There were disciples of the Paradise Demon Palace who saw this and their eyes revealed surprise. How could the witch, who has always been arrogant, ask for other people's opinions? Suze retracted his gaze and said lightly, do you know where there are the most monsters? You came here without even knowing. Dai Ji's pretty face was stunned, and she sighed and explained, the Abyss Demon Land is divided into 10 areas. We are now in the 10th area on the edge. Logically, there are the most monsters, but they are weaker. The further you go in, the less monsters there are in the 10th area, but they will be stronger and more dangerous. After getting the detailed information, Suze made a decision in his heart and chuckled, is that so? Go to the first area. His eyes flickered, and he made a decision immediately. Logically speaking, the way to get points by hunting in the 10th area is the safest. But the monsters are too weak, so the points obtained are relatively few, but going to a deeper area is different. Even hunting a powerful monster can be compared to hunting thousands of monsters here. However, after hearing Suze's decision, Dai Ji's charming face showed shock. Are you crazy? After coming to her senses, she widened her eyes. Even though the powerful monsters have been killed, there were monsters of the king or even the immortal realm in the demon land. Suze was going to go straight to the first area without saying anything. This method is too risky. Suze glanced at Dai Ji, who was in a daze, and said calmly, "You can stay." After that, he rushed straight to the depths. Just after going out not far. Bang! A monster swooped out from the dark, but was slapped to death by his calm palm. Seeing the score on the bracelet change from 0 to 5, Suze became more determined to go deeper, seeing Suze getting farther and farther away from her. This guy, Dai Ji frowned, and finally gritted her teeth and chased after him. She was a saint, and now she was only in the 10th area with the lowest risk factor. At worst, if you encounter a monster that you can't deal with, it's not too late to give up. Chapter 26. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Outside the magic land, there is a huge compass on the sky, which is divided into 10 major areas, and there are densely packed light spots at the edge. Everyone, who is expected to win first place this year? The Holy Son of our Wutian Holy Land. I think the Holy Son of Xingqiu Temple, Qin Ziji, has a great chance. This time, the first place must be Han Shao, the Holy Son of our Piamiao Divine Sect. Listening to the discussion of the crowd, Sword Pavilion Elder Ouyang Chen looked at the huge compass, which represented the light spots of the disciples of various forces, and said leisurely, "I think our Holy Son has a chance." Suze. He is indeed good, but how can he waste so much time for a female disciple? The elder of Xuanfeng Holy Sect snorted coldly and sneered repeatedly. He was still unhappy about Suze's previous killing of Xuanfeng Holy Sect's disciples. Others nodded in agreement. Suze is the young master of the Su family and the holy son of the Supreme Tao sect. He has such an identity, but he wastes such a good talent for a woman. This hunt is not good for him, even if he has a magic weapon in his hand. He is known as the natural supreme, but he never thought that he would be deceived by a woman and waste such a good seedling. They all doubted Ouyang Chen's statement. No one thought it was possible for Suze to win the first place. Suddenly, look, someone entered the 9th district. Someone spoke. Suddenly, the people present stopped talking, with surprise in their eyes. Someone entered the 9th district so quickly. They saw 2 light spots in the huge compass entering the 9th district at an astonishing speed. The speed was so fast that they immediately cheered up. Under the surprised gaze of Ouyang Chen and others, the 2 light spots that entered the 9th district did not stop at all and went straight to the 8th district deeper. The speed is so fast that it can only be described as terrifying. When seeing the 2 light spots going deep at a very fast speed. Who are these 2 people? Someone exclaimed. It took less than half an hour for the 2 light spots to enter the 8th zone from the 9th zone. Suddenly. Boom boom boom. A huge roar was heard. The barrier shook, and a bright beam of light shot straight into the sky. Seeing such a strange phenomenon. The hunting list is about to appear. Then, the first place. Suze. Ah. How could it be him? He, what is he going to do? A huge illusory list appeared on the sky, with a total of 100 places. When everyone saw that the first place was Suze's name, they were all stunned, and their jaws almost dropped to the ground. Those 2 light spots that were riding away from the dust, were actually Suze of the Supreme Tao sect and the Witch of the Paradise Demon Palace who was traveling with him. Instantly, everyone took a deep breath. First place, Suze, area, District 8, points, 10,000. They looked at Suze, who was ranked first, and their eyes almost popped out. Didn't the young master of the Su family, the holy son of the Supreme Tao sect, abandon his cultivation because of a woman? But how long has it been now? Not only is the area he is in the deepest, but he also gets the most points. What happened in the Abyss Demon Land? No matter which force it was, their faces were filled with horror. This is the first time I've seen this kind of situation. Suze hasn't stopped yet, he's going to go to District 7. Before they could be too shocked, an even more shocking scene appeared. The two light spots representing Suze and Dai Ji were still heading straight for District 7 at an astonishing speed. Under their horrified eyes, Ouyang Chen and his group were stunned, their scalps were numb, and their bodies were trembling. This is the first time they have seen this situation in such a long time. At this time, as Suze entered the 7th district, his information on the list was refreshed. First place, Suze, area, 7th district, points, 35,000. They stared at the top first place with dull faces, looking at each other, and saw each other's stunned expressions. That's more than 30,000 points. No, what on earth did Suze rely on? The fastest others have just reached the 8th district. The dangers are everywhere in the Abyss Demon Land, but Suze can shuttle through several districts at such a fast speed. That's fine, the key is that he also obtained so many points. Is there something wrong with this compass and hunting list? How? How can this be? The people present were in unprecedented shock. Even though they had good cultivation, they were still shocked by Suze's performance. Hunting day has lasted for so many years, and this is the first time they have seen such an amazing scene. Now he is directly ranked first, surpassing all the geniuses, and the points he has obtained are more than half more than the second place. With this kind of posture, wouldn't he sweep through the Abyss Demon Land directly? Amid the shocked discussions from all sides, the elders of the Paradise Demon Palace were not only shocked, but also confused. Dai Ji ranked second. But, where did her points go? They saw that the witch's name was behind Suze, who was ranked first. The points had obviously increased, but soon returned to 0. What is going on? In the midst of everyone's shock. Ha ha ha. Sword Pavilion Elder Ouyang Chen couldn't stop laughing, and said jokingly, "It seems that our holy son will firmly take the first place in the hunting list this year. Your disciples still have to work hard." After saying that, he laughed up to the sky, like a thunderous answer. The holy son really began to practice seriously. As soon as he entered the Abyss Demon Land, he showed an invincible posture that overwhelmed the heroes. As soon as these words came out, the elders of other forces frowned, and their faces kept twitching. Don't be happy too early, at the moment, they could only sneer with gritted teeth, but they were still hit hard by Suze's performance in their hearts. District 7. Roar. With the arrival of Suze and Dai Ji, roars were heard and demonic energy surged. One after another, huge monsters covered with black demonic energy rushed out like a wave. The 7th district was shaken, and the demonic tide surged. But, faced with so many monsters, Suze did not stop. Bang! 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 He did not slow down, and passed by the monsters like a flying geese. Facing these monsters that could not threaten him, every time he punched, he raised a strong wind, and his terrifying physical strength was revealed. No monster survived wherever he passed. In the demonic tide, Suze hunted monsters with overwhelming force, cut a bloody path, and headed straight for the 6th district. Whoever stands in my way will die. His momentum became more and more terrifying as he killed people, truly being able to stand alone against 10,000 enemies. As the demonic tide was in chaos and the monsters were fleeing frantically, Dai Ji had already been stunned by Suze's terrifying strength, and the shock in her heart was already beyond description. Why is this Suze so different from what I know? His strength is far above mine. Her heart was filled with turbulent waves, and her beautiful eyes widened. Throughout the process, Suze's terrifying strength had nothing to do with what was rumored by the outside world. After a while, Suze repelled the overwhelming demonic frenzy by himself. At this time, Su Xingzi, you now have more than 30,000 points. You should leave some for me next time, right? Dai Ji suppressed the shock in her heart, looked at Suze charmingly, and her delicate voice made ordinary people want to hand over all the points. Chapter 27. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After hearing this trick won't work on me. Suze hugged the charming and thrilling Dai Ji in front of him and laughed playfully. Ah! Dai Ji screamed and turned pale, feeling the warmth on her waist, her delicate body trembled suddenly, her pretty face was hot, and she dared not look directly into Suze's aggressive eyes. What is this guy going to do? Seeing Dai Ji, who almost forgot to resist. In addition to your points, if this saint's son is willing, you are also mine. Suze did not show any mercy to Dai Ji, and swiped the points on the bracelet on Dai Ji's wrist, and said with satisfaction, continue hunting. You are simply too much. Dai Ji broke free from Suze's restraints, her pretty face full of resentment. Along the way, every time she worked hard to get the points, they were all taken away by Suze. The charm technique that she was proud of had no effect on him at all. How could there be such a man? This guy directly treated herself as a tool. Dai Ji was so angry that she wanted to stamp her feet and grit her teeth. You are so cruel, but seeing Suze frowning slightly, she snorted coldly, I should not have invited him earlier. Now she is undoubtedly asking for trouble. She flashed and attacked the monsters around her directly, venting all the frustration in her heart on these monsters. Not far away, Suze looked at Dai Ji, who was performing the charm spell, his eyes flickering constantly. It's good to have more assistants. He muttered softly, looking at the more than 50,000 points on the bracelet, feeling satisfied, after Dai Ji had hunted down almost all the monsters around. Go to the 6th district. Suze didn't plan to stay in the 7th district for too long, and after saying that, he flew into the depths. Seeing this. Ah! Dai Ji stomped her feet in anger, but followed helplessly, although she was not so obsessed with points, and wanted to experience more in the abyss. Suze was really annoying. But think about it from another angle, that I only need to make an effort to go deeper, which seems to be not bad, going deeper. Suze's attitude was as unstoppable as ever. Prepare 70,000 points. He looked at the number displayed on the bracelet, and a deep smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, but the next second. Warm reminder, behind the host, there are more than a dozen hunters approaching the host at a high speed. The system's voice sounded. Hearing this, Suze was stunned for a moment, and replied in his mind, is he coming with bad intentions? Yes. What is his realm? Several in the God King realm, 3 in the Saint realm, one of whom has the same cultivation as the host, the 6th level of Saint. Oh, after Suze understood the situation in the conversation with the system, he stopped and continued to go deeper. Seeing this, Dai Ji next to him asked, not leaving? Someone is coming. Ah! After getting the answer, she was stunned, but not long after. Suze, I didn't expect you to be so fast. I thought you would dawdle in the 9th district for a long time. A surprised voice came from behind him. A young man in luxurious clothes, extraordinary temperament and strong aura could move hundreds of feet in one step. He stopped in the air more than 10 feet away from Suze, with a mocking look on his face. In addition to this young man. Shwa! Shwa! More than 10 figures came from all directions. They surrounded Suze. The young man who spoke earlier said leisurely after seeing the others in place, Piao Miao Divine Sect, Han Shao. Your points will stay, and you can leave. After introducing himself, he was full of confidence in his eyes, and he stated his purpose without concealing it, and a sneer appeared. Hearing this, Dai Ji frowned, her face solemnly said, Han Shao, the son of Piao Miao Divine Sect. It is said that he is already a saint of the 6th heaven, you. As she said, she looked at Suze on the side, and then froze. At this moment, Suze narrowed his eyes, licked his lips, and smiled grimly. Shouldn't I be the one to say this? He soared into the air, looking down at her with a stern voice, leave your points and you can live, otherwise you will die. Dai Ji trembled all over, staring blankly at Suze, who didn't take him seriously at all. Are you crazy? She blinked in disbelief. Does this guy know what he is talking about? The other party is not only a saint of the 6th heaven, but also 2 other saint disciples of Pyamyaoshinzong. More than a dozen god kings of different realm. As a result, Su Zhe dared to return the words to the other party intact. The next second. Ha ha ha, what? Did I hear it right? A guy who was bewitched by a woman dared to speak wildly to our holy son. I wonder what will happen if I cripple him. Ha ha ha. The woman next to this guy looks pretty good. When I cripple him, I will offer this woman to the holy son to enjoy. Hee hee, I can't wait to see the young master of the Su family and the holy son of the supreme Tao sect being beaten to death by us. More than a dozen divine king disciples of the Pyamyao divine sect laughed so hard that tears came out of their eyes. Their words were full of ridicule and teasing, and then they attacked together in a very frivolous manner. Dozens of magical powers condensed, carrying an amazing aura and heading straight for Su Zhe. Su Zhe's face showed majesty, and he stretched out his big hand, saying, "How can the son of the imperial family be blasphemed by you? Die!" He clenched his fist fiercely. One of the disciples of the divine sect who was in the 5th level of the divine king realm was still laughing. However, his laughter stopped abruptly, and he exploded into a ball of blood mist without any sign. As for the more than 10 magical skills, they were directly disintegrated. The terrifying aura spread from Su Zhe, and without any pause, he raised his hand and slapped several palms in the air. Ants. With a cold shout, his palm was like a tidal wave, shaking the sky. In an instant, when they realized that their fellow disciples had died in Su Zhe's hands, the rest of the divine king realm disciples looked stunned. Bang! 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 They felt a strong sense of crisis, and before they could react, someone burst into flames like the previous disciple. Seeing this. No. He is already a saint. Son of God, save me. Ah! The screams of terror and the shrill cries echoed in this world. But the only thing that responded to them was Su Zhe's endless cold eyes. Within 3 breaths, a dozen of the divine king disciples of Pyamyao divine sect around them had no time to crush the bracelets, and were annihilated under Su Zhe's terrifying suppression, and none of them survived. With a raised hand, the bracelets of more than a dozen divine sect disciples who died and could not die anymore turned into streams of light and fell into Su Zhe's hands. Only more than 20,000, he shook his head unsatisfiedly, and in the blink of an eye he put the points on his bracelet. That's it, solved. Dai Ji's heartbeat accelerated, and her beautiful eyes widened. On the opposite side, Han Zhao's smile suddenly froze, and he immediately shouted angrily, "You bunch of trash, go and destroy him. Don't worry, Saint Son, he just relied on his family to get to where he is now. He just went from being a waste in the God King realm to a waste in the Saint realm. How could he be the natural supreme being as rumored? That's right, he's said to be so miraculous, but in the end he's just a useless waste." The 2 Saint realm disciples next to Han Zhao sneered. Behind them, 2 huge saintly images appeared. Chapter 28. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The 2 bodies were broken, and the 2 bodies were broken. Gotcha. Before the 2 saintly disciples of Pyamyao sect could make a move, the void behind Su Zhe showed signs of cracking. With a deafening roar, the terrifying saintly image that covered the sky and the sun appeared in this world. Compared to the image presented by Su Zhe, the 2 images were like toys. The mighty holy power poured out from Su Zhe's saintly image, covering a large area of this world. Bang! Bang! The explosions continued, and the earth and the sky trembled. Su Zhe seemed to be the master who controlled everything. His eyes were like the endless abyss, and his voice was like thunder, "Should stand on the top of heaven and earth, and all things look up to me. How can something as humble as an ant have the right to bark at me?" As soon as the voice fell, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The saint's Dharma behind him raised his hand and clenched his fist, and the huge fist covering the sky and the earth suddenly slammed down. Space collapsed. All directions were annihilated. Under this might. How is this possible? The two saint disciples' expressions changed drastically, and they could no longer see anything else in their eyes, only the terrifying fist of the Dharma. They exclaimed, and the saint's Dharma behind them showed fear on their faces, shaking violently and uncontrollably, and were scared to death. Bang! Bang! Two loud noises came out, the Dharma behind the two people exploded directly. Puff, that they vomited blood crazily, terrified. Holy Sun, save me. No. No. You can't kill me, spare me. The two disciples of Piamiao divine sect screamed like crazy, and begged for mercy again and again as fear grew in their hearts. But even though their voices were hoarse. Boom! Su Zai's fist of Dharma didn't stop at all, and fell heavily. The entire 7th district was shaking violently, and the horrible aura fluctuation spread in all directions. The earth-shaking screams of monsters came from all around. The points on the bracelet in Su Zai's hand suddenly increased by several thousand. Because the two saint disciples of Piamiao divine sect were judged to be defeated by Su Zai, the original points belonged to Su Zai. At this time, the points on his bracelet broke through 100,000. Looking at Su Zai who acted so domineeringly. Dai Ji looked a little dazed, her delicate body couldn't help but tremble slightly, and a strong fear appeared in her eyes. The previous blow made her unable to even think of resisting. The Su Zai in front of her once again refreshed her cognition. How terrifying is this guy? After enduring the violent energy fluctuations, Han Shao could not keep calm and his breathing became rapid. Su Zai. He looked dark, staring at Su Zai who acted calm and roared. Originally, he relied on the followers in the sect to earn points, but now, they were all killed by Su Zai in a few seconds. The Wu-Wei saint son of the Supreme Dao sect rumored by the outside world, this is called Wu-Wei. When Su Zai heard this, he raised his eyebrows and looked at him, and said coldly, "Do you want to die too?" Okay, I want to see if you really have such great ability." Han Shao laughed in anger, his eyes revealed a strong murderous intent, and behind him was also a saintly Dharma image that covered the sky and the sun. Under the spread of holy power, he punched out. Su Zai also responded with a punch. Boom! The first fight between the two once again made the 7th district turbulent, as if it would be destroyed at any time. Under the collision of the Dharma, the brilliant divine light bloomed. But the next second Su Zai's eyes were deep, and he stood with his hands behind his back, without moving at all from beginning to end. Han Shao frowned, groaned and retreated dozens of feet. Is he also a saint of the 6th level? Looking at the calm Su Zai, his pupils suddenly shrank, and he felt something was wrong. In a head-on collision, he was actually at a disadvantage. Trying his best to suppress the shock in his heart, Han Shao took a deep breath, and a monstrous fighting spirit appeared in his eyes. It seems that the rumors I heard were false, so it's fine. He no longer held back, his aura raging in all directions, and slowly said, "After so long, the Eastern region finally has an opponent that I can take seriously. I will defeat you first, and then take your points, don't let me down." As he spoke, he grinned, and a crack appeared in the void in front of him. An astonishing aura permeated. Under the flashing light, a snow-white spear slowly appeared. The tip of the spear was dazzling, and there was a monstrous murderous aura rushing up to the sky, as if to tear everything apart. Seeing this, how can the light of a firefly compete with the bright moon? Su Zai's eyes flickered, and he said with a disdainful look, "Since you are determined to die, I will grant your wish." Without waiting for Han Shao to react, the heavenly Tao desolate sword appeared in his hand. Instantly, the breath of heavenly Tao descended. The 7th district was dead silent, and all things were suppressed. The power of heaven was mighty, and the 8 directions roared and trembled. Chi. The demonic energy in the Abyss Demon Emperor was visibly dissipating in this supreme breath. At this moment, Han Shao had just grasped the impressive spear in front of him, and he was almost out of breath by this breath before he could make a move. This is Heavenly Tao, the power of Heavenly Tao. He suddenly widened his eyes, his expression changed drastically, and he was horrified. Looking at the Heavenly Tao desolate sword in Su Zhe's hand, his heartbeat accelerated, and his face turned pale under the suppression. This is a divine weapon. Even if I have seen it before, it is not as terrifying as it is now. The spear in his hand is also a divine weapon, but after Su Zhe's sword appeared, it trembled uncontrollably, as if it was afraid. Buzz, without giving Han Shao time to think, a sword sound echoed. Su Zhe's cold face was filled with murderous intent. He slowly raised his hand and swung a sword. Swish! The bright sword light reflected in all directions, and the terrifying sword energy carrying the power of the Heavenly Tao rushed straight to Han Shao, destroying everything. Crack! Crack! Where the sword energy passed, the sky and the earth collapsed, as if endless prehistoric beasts were going to destroy this world. Seeing Su Zhe's amazing sword. Boom! Han Zhao's scalp exploded, his mind went blank, and his soul was screaming. This sword frightened him, made him tremble uncontrollably, and made him unable to think of resisting at all. With a pale face. Run! Han Shao felt an unprecedented huge crisis, and he madly used his cultivation to crush the bracelet unwillingly. Even if he was extremely reluctant, he could only escape. Otherwise, even if he didn't die under this sword, he would be seriously injured if he used his trump card. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! At the moment when Han Shao was terrified and was reported out of the abyss, the terrifying sword energy swept past and rushed straight to the back, and there were endless wailing and screaming. At this moment. Gurgle. Dai Ji's pretty face was full of fear, her heart was beating wildly, and the whole person was almost suffocated. Looking at Su Zhe who stepped into the void and seemed supreme, she swallowed hard and said horrifiedly, Su Xingzi, I will continue hunting and get more points for you. Without even a pause, she disappeared before she finished her words. I can't afford to offend this guy. Fortunately, I didn't anger him before, otherwise I would have ended up dead. Chapter 29. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The battle was won, and the battle was won. Outside the Abyss Demon Land, Ouyang Chen looked at the light spot representing Su Zhe, who was far ahead of everyone else, and his eyes were filled with expectations. I hope the Holy Sun can win the first place in this hunting list, that he spoke excitedly, but saw that Su Zhe's points on the hunting list had risen by several thousand again. This made him take a deep breath, and it seemed that the Holy Sun had a chance to win the first place. Qin Wanjun of the Supreme Tao sect and the other two elders also held their breath, staring at the compass, and looking at the hunting list from time to time. And not far away, among the various forces, many disciples have given up on hunting. What's going on? Didn't they say that the Holy Son of the Supreme Tao sect is Wu Wei? But now, why is he the first? Forget about being the first, how come his points are more than half more than the second place Han Shao? It is rumored that although Su Zhe is praised as the natural supreme, he is not as good as many people in cultivation, and he is also fascinated by the female disciples of his own sect. He is simply a waste, but now it seems that it is not the case. How can he be the first? When they saw the ranking of the hunting list, they were all stunned and their scalps were numb. This result made them unbelievable. But the next second, the whole barrier shook, and even the hunting list began to shake. Amid the roar. Look at Su Zhe's points. There was a shocking scream from the crowd. See, Su Zhe is still ranked first. After the data was refreshed on the compass, more than a dozen figures can be seen to have arrived at the 7th district where Su Zhe is. But at this time Su Zhe's points are still in the lead, and he has more than half more than Han Shao, who is now the second place. Hiss. At the scene, there were bursts of gasps. Every look was more shocking. No one could have imagined that the rumored Wu Wei saint son of the Supreme Tao sect would be so amazing. From the beginning, he was far ahead of others. Especially in terms of points, he is far ahead of everyone. There are so many geniuses, saints from all over the world, but no one can compare with him. The elders of Piamiao Shinzong looked at each other. The saint's son has caught up with Su Zhe. It seems that there is even a chance to compete with Su Zhe for the first place. Although I don't know how Su Zhe became the first, with the saint's son's way of doing things, it is not a problem to get the first place. Ha ha ha, oh Yang Chen, I'm afraid you will not be able to laugh soon. Maybe it won't be long before Su Zhe will be forced to give up hunting. That they spoke one after another, expecting more in their eyes, and couldn't help but mocking. The Holy Son will definitely win first place. Compared with the useless Holy Son of the Supreme Tao sect, their Holy Son is the real pride of the East region. Upon hearing this, Ouyang Chen narrowed his eyes and snorted in response, "Don't jump to conclusions so early, be careful of being slapped in the face." Having said that, he was a little nervous. After all, Han Shao, the Holy Son of the Piamiao Divine Sect, is a rising star of evil in recent years, and has received the resources of the Divine Sect. But suddenly, what's going on? An elder of the Piamiao Divine Sect exclaimed. Everyone followed his gaze to the compass, and then widened their eyes. I saw that the light spots representing more than a dozen disciples of the Piamiao Divine Sect went out first, and then all went out. The strange thing is that they were not teleported out. In other words, all died in the Abyss Demon Land. Boom! While the elders of the Piamiao Divine Sect were in doubt, a huge roar resounded through the sky. In an instant. On the hunting list, Su Zhe's data was refreshed again. Although the area he was in was still the 7th area, his points suddenly soared by more than 30,000. Ouyang Chen and other Taishan Dao sect elders were stunned, and some of them did not react, but on the other side. Ah! Su Zhe killed so many of our disciples in front of the Holy Sun. This. How could he do this? Those are more than a dozen disciples above the 5th level of the God King. Didn't they say that Su Zhe stayed in the 6th level of the God King for a long time? How? How did he do it? After the elders of Piamiao Shinzong exclaimed, their faces were gloomy and they were shocked. This kind of thing made them unbelievable. On the other side. What on earth is the witch going to do? The points went up and down, went down and up, and finally returned to 0. Did all these points go to Su Zhe? Dai Ji doesn't look like someone who can do such a thing. While discussing, the elders of the Demon Palace stared at Su Zhe, who ranked first on the hunting list, with a look of doubt and uncertainty on their faces. This Holy Son of the Supreme Tao sect doesn't seem to be as simple as they heard. Otherwise, how to explain the witch's points being so erratic? Amid the exclamations at the scene, on the compass, in the 7th zone, 2 more light spots belonging to the disciples of the Piamiao Divine Sect went out. The scene suddenly became quiet. After waiting for a while, no one was teleported out. This time, the elders of the Piamiao Divine Sect panicked. Where is this person? Where are they? Could it be that they died and they're like the dozen disciples before? How is it possible? 2 Saint Realm disciples, even if Su Zhe is a Saint Realm, it is impossible to kill them so easily. What happened inside? They looked anxious, but they could not do anything. It was not long before, more than a dozen God Kings and 2 saints of Piamiao Divine Sect died in the Abyss Demon Land. And it was because of Su Zhe. Suddenly, violent roars continued to sound. Su Zhe's points broke through 100,000. Seeing this, the elders of Piamiao Divine Sect were horrified and trembling all over. This. Su Zhe. Their eyes were red and they were terrified. Not only them, the whole scene was in an uproar, and people from all parties were shocked. At this time, Su Zhe's points could no longer be described as far ahead, it was clear that no one could surpass him. When did this Holy Son of the Supreme Tao sect become so scary? In the horrified eyes, on the compass, there were only 3 light spots in the 7th zone. But, the next second another light spot suddenly went out. Suddenly, the scene was dead silent. Sound. Bang ka, the hunting list shook violently, and the sky was shaking. The next second. First place, Su Zhe, area, 7th area, points, 150,000. The data of the entire list was refreshed again. Su Zhe still maintained a far lead, a gap-like lead, a desperate lead. And the name of Han Shao, the holy son of Piamiao divine sect, who was originally in second place, was removed. Seeing this, the elders of Piamiao divine sect were scalp-bursting, and their faces were extremely pale. Holy Son. Even the Holy Son failed. Could it be? Could it be that Su Zhe killed the Holy Son too? They were terrified and trembling violently, and now they were screaming. If the Holy Son died in Su Zhe's hands in the Abyss Demon Land, it would really be in vain. Piamiao divine sect could not confront Taishang Dao sect with this matter. Not to mention that Su Zhe was backed by the imperial Su family, they could not afford such a loss. Chapter 30. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The old man was in a panic, but the old man was in a panic. At this time, the Piamiao divine sect was panicking, but the elders of the Taishang Dao sect had a strong look in their eyes. Holy Son. Ha ha ha. From now on, who will say that I, the holy son of the Taishang Dao sect, am inactive? You short-sighted guys, do you still have something to say now? The holy son has now won 150,000 points. Such a terrifying number is undoubtedly a miracle compared to the hunting days in previous years. They laughed wildly and their worried hearts were immediately relieved. At this moment, Ouyang Chen looked at the people of Piamiao divine sect, laughed and shot back, "What? Your powerful saint son is only capable of this?" Ouyang Chen. The elders of Piamiao divine sect looked at each other angrily, and their whole bodies were trembling. Their hearts were in their throats. If the saint's son was really killed by Su Zhe, then their losses would be unprecedented. In the silence at the scene, there was a flash of light not far away. Thump, thump. Then, Han Zhao's figure appeared and kept retreating. At this time, his face was pale, and his whole body was soaked with cold sweat. It was like escaping death. Seeing this scene, the elders of Piamiao divine sect breathed a sigh of relief, and their hanging hearts were finally put down. They hurried forward to ask. In response, Han Zhao's inner waves had not subsided, and the fear in his eyes had not dissipated. Su Zhe, it's Su Zhe. We only want his points, but, he killed all those disciples. With one sword, even I almost died in his hands. Faced with the questions of the elders, he answered in shock. But the next second, he suddenly looked behind him, his face was extremely ugly. Su Zhe's terror made him unable to deal with it. That sword, not to mention himself, I'm afraid even the elders of his own sect have to think twice. Damn it. Hearing the answer. What? In other words, the reason why Su Zhe's points increased so quickly is that you want to take the points from him. Even you are not Su Zhe's opponent. How? How is this possible? The elders of Piamiao Shinzong almost stared out of their eyes and cried out in shock. Even the saint of their own sect was almost destroyed by Su Zhe. Originally, the Holy Son wanted to lead people to plunder Su Zhe's points, but not only did he fail to plunder, but Su Zhe took all the points away. That would be fine. Su Zhe also killed the two saints of Piamiao divine sect and more than a dozen disciples of the divine king, and made Han Shao, the Holy Son, flee. They were dumbfounded, their faces full of disbelief. But, after Han Shao learned that the list had appeared, he looked at it. 150,000 points. When he saw that Su Zhe ranked first and had 150,000 points, he was dumbfounded on the spot. Even if this guy didn't get his points, he was still the first. How could this happen? Su Zhe suddenly became so terrifying. Seeing the strange looks from all sides. Gotcha. Han Zhao's face was extremely embarrassed, and he clenched his fists tightly, but he had no place to refute. Now recalling the superiority and stunning sword that Su Zhe had shown before, he still trembled unconsciously, with lingering fears. Seeing the defeated Piamiao divine sect. It seems that Piamiao divine sect is just so. So many people were actually dealt with by our saint's son alone, ha 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 ha. Ouyang Chen spoke with full of sarcasm, and then looked at the hunting list and laughed even louder. As for the other elders and eliminated disciples of the Supreme Dao sect, they couldn't help laughing out loud. Before, he might not be able to fight back against the ridicule of other forces, but now the saint's son is far ahead of the geniuses of various forces on the hunting list, and has become invincible. Very happy. As Su Zhe caused a sensation in the audience, that there was another flash of light outside the magic land. The figure of the male protagonist Lin Yi in the original novel appeared, spitting out a mouthful of blood, his face pale. What was that just now, that he gasped and his heart was beating wildly? Previously, he was hunting monsters in the 8th district, and his points were rising. He would soon be able to enter the 7th district. But no one expected that a terrifying sword energy would come straight from the 7th district to the back, killing and wounding monsters wherever it passed. Even if he was just watching from a distance, they were also affected by the violent fluctuations that seemed to destroy everything. Now Lin Yi recalled the sword energy he had seen before, and felt horrified. Who is that? He took a deep breath and gritted his teeth. If he hadn't been disturbed by the sword energy, he would have been able to rely on the help of the predecessors in the dark to win the first place. Suddenly. The Holy Sun is mighty. The Holy Sun is mighty. Ha ha ha, just one sword almost killed the Holy Sun of Piamiao sect. If he hadn't run fast, he would have been killed by the Holy Sun. In the Taishan Dao sect, waves of joyful cheers came. Hearing this, Lin Yi returned and almost vomited blood after understanding the situation. That sword was slashed by Su Zhe. And he almost killed the Holy Sun of Piamiao sect. There was bloodshot in his eyes and hatred in his heart, it turned out to be him. At this moment, he was angry. Su Zhe always ruins my good fortune. If it weren't for this guy, these cheers and attention should belong to me. Abyss Demon Land, District 9, Shi Yufei killed a monster and frowned when she saw the few thousand points on her bracelet. It's too slow to go on like this. In addition to being annoyed, Su Zhe's figure appeared in her mind again. If Su Zhe was here, she might have been in a deeper place, and she wouldn't have only so many points. Damn it! At this moment. There are too few monsters here. Let's keep going forward. Hunting monsters in deeper places will earn more points. A very gentle voice came to my ears. Shi Yufei put away her thoughts and nodded slightly. Su Zhe is not here, and now Zhua Yanhan can just solve the danger for me. She muttered to herself and flew deeper. The other party was one of the Tianxian Academy's prodigies, a divine king of the 9th heaven, and was considered to be a powerful figure among this group of hunters. She was of course clear about this person's mind. Under his deliberate flattery, she used the method used on Su Zhe to get a lot of points, just in time to use him to earn more points. Looking at Shi Yufei's back. If I can get a woman that Su Zhe can't get, it will prove that Su Zhe is a waste. Zhua Yanhan's heart was filled with evil fire, and a sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. Without any hesitation, he immediately chased after her, and rushed in front with a polite face to clear the way. Seeing this, Shi Yufei's beautiful eyes flashed with a trace of undetectable disgust, but she was thinking about how to continue to hang Su Zhe like before. The family has been unable to move forward under the interference of the imperial order, and I must make Su Zhe change his mind. That she gritted her teeth, her mind was running fast, and she kept calculating.